let's get this started. Am I sharing my screen? I'm sharing my screen. I'm recording. Everything is good. All right, we'll stop the jams. All right. Welcome to your first day for cohort B being in the room. We got a whopping 8 of you. Fantastic. And hopefully everybody else is online at home. I want to do a couple clerical things before we get into the practice for your quiz on Friday, which is all about density. I also have a list of everybody that has not done their density their density notes. Everybody should have done them, so we'll chat. Okay, perfect. We'll do that later. So what we're going to talk about, the schedule again. Everything is pretty much staying the same, except instead of having videos, when we usually do, and I can put my favorite songs on them and I can do them all nice and pretty, we will not be able to have those anymore. What will happen on Monday and Tuesdays is I will just start lecturing. So Mondays and Tuesdays, you must come to class from here on out. I will take a recording of it, but if you will see, the Google Meet recording is horrendous. And, it will just be as class goes. So you want to be able to come. The other students are on my screen, and you can ask questions. You can involve yourself. You can do whatever. But Mondays and Tuesdays, you want to come to class during your class period to get the content. Wednesdays, you will still come, okay, as we have always for a live synchronous class. Thursdays, we have no more office hours because I'm going to be with students all day long. And we'll be doing a lab day. So you guys that are physically here get to do the lab that you guys at home, the lab that they did last week. So you're going to do that tomorrow. Okay. So you guys at home, cohort A, you don't have any chemistry to do for me on Thursdays when you're remote. Fridays will always be a quiz day still. So nothing really has changed. The only thing that I'm going to do that's different is I'll have students in class actually taking the quiz. And if you came into class, you're like, oh my God, you know what? I forget the units for volume. Can we go over those really fast? I would totally do that with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the camera for the first 10 minutes of class and allow anybody to come in and ask questions about the quiz before they decide to take it. Okay, because you guys will get that luxury. So I want that to be offered to the remote kids as well. Okay, so the biggest things on my agenda to make sure we talk about that. So you guys next week will be calling in live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Participation points are on Wednesdays, and we'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And then density practice is what we're going to do today. Let's talk about where we're going with this. Your Friday quiz this week is 9 questions and 29 points. It is over the density concept, like what sinks, what floats, what's the density of water, all that kind of stuff. So that's from Monday's lecture. And it will also be calculating density, volume, and mass. And that's from Tuesday's lecture. The thing is this would be extremely easy if you weren't in honors chemistry because you will have to put your answers in significant figures, and you have to give me the correct unit. Okay, so we're going to practice all of that today. Now, cohort B, which is you guys in the room, you will wait and you'll take this quiz during this class period. Cohort A, those of you at home, make sure you take it before 1:30. Again, if you have questions, come at the beginning of the period and I can answer those. Okay, so Monday, Tuesday lecture, Wednesday practice, Thursday lab, only if you're here, and everybody takes a quiz every Friday. Nothing is changing from that. Sweet. All right. So these are notes from last week. So you're not writing these down. We are just looking at worksheet number 2. Boop, those of you at home. Before we get into that, let's just refresh. So you're not writing this down. Let's just remember. Let's pretend we have a really wonky number like, oh, I don't know, like this. Wonderful. Non-zero numbers. Non-zero numbers. Do they count? Never count. Sometimes count. Non-zero numbers. Always count. Correct? As significant. Then we have 3 different types of zeros. Leading zeros, or the zeros at the beginning. Do they count? No. What if I say please? Well, they still don't count. You can be as nice as you want, but leading zeros never count. They are simply placeholders. You write them down, but they just show order of magnitude. Captive zeros, the number between non-zero numbers, always count. And then trailing zeros, these zeros at the end, when do those zeros count? When there is a decimal. Okay, so that is this is just a review. Don't have to write that down. All right. Now, the nice thing is we will not be adding or subtracting during this worksheet. Everybody hates that rule. But we will be multiplying and dividing. And so you look at the number of significant figures in the weakest measurement to control how you round. Okay? Awesome. So that was last week. Then Monday we talked about the concept, which we're going to practice in a second. And then Tuesday we talked about the math. I don't usually love this triangle, but I feel like because of the way that we're kind of learning, any little helps that I can give you here. You guys probably remember from my lecture, I said density. You love density. And then that tells you the density is always mass over volume, correct? So if you want to find density, if you put it into a triangle like this, here, divide the triangle, M over V. Then what this triangle can do is it can help you. If you want to find V, we need what over what to find volume? M over D. And then if you want to find M, what do you think you do if they're next to each other? Good. Okay. So that's kind of a way. Or you say, look, I know how to do algebra and I'll just solve for X. So whatever you want to do, you guys are in honors chem. That's your thing. I also want to talk about units really quickly. Does anybody remember what mass is measured in this class? Grams. There are two types of volumes. There's liquid volume and there's solid volume. Liquid volume is measured in mLs, milliliters. Solid volume, if you do a length and a width and a height, it's going to be beautiful. Now, the nice thing is that 1 centimeter is 1 milliliter. 1 centimeter cubed, excuse me, is 1 milliliter. So these are a 1-to-1 ratio if you remember from the notes. Okay, perfect. All right, so that means the densities units are kind of like speed, like meters per second or things like that. So liquid density is grams per milliliter, and solid density is grams per centimeter cubed. Feeling it. That's like a recap of the whole notes for Tuesday. Yes? Let's put it in. Let's do this. Density problems worksheet number 2. Put it in front of you. Get out your calculator. Let's go. I don't know why the first one does not have this in centimeters cubed. It has it in milliliters, but whatever. We'll keep going. A block of aluminum occupies a volume of 15 milliliters and a mass of 40.5 grams. What is its density? Well, I like to take my equation and I like to set it up. What I'm going to need to do to solve this is I'm going to put the mass over the volume. Okay. Those of you at home, hopefully you're following along. All right. All right. All right. So what is the mass here? 40.5. The volume is 15 ml. 15.0. You put it in your calculator, it spits out a really pretty number, 2.7. Now, this would be fine in math class if you're like moving on. However, you're in science. You have to do 2 more things. You must give it to me in significant figures, and you must give me a unit. So let's see. How many significant figures do I have in my mass? 3. How many significant figures do I have in my volume? 3. So how many must I have in my final answer? 3. How many are there? 2. What can I do to make that a 3 sig fig number? Add a 0. So on the quiz on Friday, if there is an option between 2.7 and 2.70, which one's wrong? You would get that wrong. Okay. Also, you have to be able to put a unit on there. If we're measuring density, what is the unit going to be? If you set it up in your equation, you always see it. It's going to be grams per milliliter. Okay, that would be a full credit answer. Are you with me? Yes. All right. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to make you do one by yourself, and then I'm going to go on to concept questions. You find a piece of gold, lucky you, with a mass of 528.4 grams. What is the volume if the density of gold is 19.3 grams per centimeters cubed? So you can either say, I know that volume is going to have to be mass over density, or you can do it and solve for V, whatever you want. But I know that I'm going to put 528.4 over 19.3. Wonderful. Your calculator spits out a number, and I could probably keep going, but you know, we don't need all that. 27.378 when you divide those. How many significant figures in my top number? 4. How many in my bottom number? 3. So how many can I have in my final answer? I can only have 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Can I just call that 27.3? What does that 7 make that 3 do? Round it up, baby. Okay, so 27.4. Now the answer is volume. If this is a solid, what unit are you going to use for solid volume here? Centimeters cubed. Okay, so I'm going to put the music on very quietly for a second. I would like everybody to do this on their own before I move on to the next idea here. Find the mass of 250 milliliters. That didn't tell you what unit that is, but you should be able to read the, didn't tell you what it was, but you should be able to read the unit and tell me what variable it is. And the density of benzene is this. I would like to know the mass. Coming around to check on in here. Beautiful, beautiful. How are you doing with this? Doing okay? Beautiful. Let me know how you doing. How you doing? I haven't even do either of the textures yet. Just want to make sure you want to Monday and Tuesday and do those at some point. Okay. We can do them. Well, we're gonna have a little bit of practice time here in a minute. All right. Hopefully you got a number. How you guys doing at home? Hopefully you're doing good. I'm gonna check in with you in a second before you get out of here for your participation points. Oh, after we do this. All right, here we go. So, if I want to find mass, I do density multiplied by volume. Okay. I know the density is 0.8765. I multiply that by 250, and then I get a nice big number out of my calculator. Let's round this, shall we? How many figs do I have in my density? 4. Careful. How many figs do I have in my volume? 4. So how many do I get my final answer? 4. 1, 2, 3. Do I want to round that up or make it stay the same? Stays the same. Now, if I want mass, what is the unit for mass? Boom. Goes the dynamite. Are you good here? All right, now let's talk really fast. So the next part on your worksheet, I'm actually not going to do it with you, but I want to set up and refresh a few things. Does everybody remember what the density of water is? That was in the first lecture. The density of water is 1 gram per milliliter or centimeters cubed because it's the same thing. If I were to put something more dense in water, would it sink or float? If I put something more dense in it, sink. And if I put something less dense in water, it would float. So don't do this yet. Put your pencil down. Those of you at home, watch here. I have a cylinder, and I put 5 different liquids in it. I know that this middle one here is water. What does that density must be if it's water? 1. Now, I have the densities of 3 of the other things, but I don't know the density of the red liquid. Looking at my densities here, which must be the density of my blue liquid if it's at the top? Beautiful. The less dense thing must be on top. And then what must be the density? I always make it easiest. Go to the bottom. What must be the density of the one at the bottom? Perfect. And then that means here, beep, that has to be that. Now, you might not know the exact density of the red liquid, but can you give me a range in which its density must be if that's where it resides in the thing? Go ahead. You got it. So anywhere between here, so just for safety, we'll say 1.1 to 1.4, correct? So you know the range. You can't, you know, it's not 5. Okay, it's not 0. You know the range. Okay, because all based on what it's around it. Now I have this ball here. Beautiful. This ball has a density of 1.7 grams per centimeter cube. If I were to drop this ball into this graduated cylinder, is it going to sink through the blue liquid? Yes. Is it going to sink through the water? Yes. Is it going to sink through the red liquid? Yes. Is it going to sink through the green liquid? Is it going to go to the bottom? It will stop right on that last liquid here, okay? Kind of like the magic golf ball did on the 3rd cylinder where it stopped right on that salt water because salt water is more dense than the fresh water, okay? Making sense? Awesome. So that kind of stuff you have to know in order to do the next part of your worksheet, okay? So I just want to do a little refresh with you here. Now, what we're going to spend the rest of the period doing, I want those of you at home, I want you to open up your, those of you here, open up your Chromebooks real fast. Open up your Chromebooks. Open up your Chromebooks. Beautiful. Does everybody know what week we are in? Week 6. So go into week 6. Week 6. In week 6, you're going to go into Wednesday, 9:30. And everybody right now, even those of you at home, I see you, put your participation points in. Okay, put your participation points in. And once you're done with that, leave it up because the answer key to this worksheet is right here. We have about 15 minutes left in class, okay? And what you're going to do is I would like for you to finish the rest of this worksheet. And the answer key, so you can make sure you're doing it correct, is right under those week 6, Wednesday. Go ahead and put in that you were here in class A. And you guys will finish the rest of this. While that's happening, I am going to check in with my virtual peeps here so that I can get them their credit, okay? But so what you guys are doing here, put on your participation points and get ready for Friday's quiz by finishing that. And the key is there. So do one, check the key. Do another, check the key. Make sure you're getting these right. That's the main idea, okay? Good stuff. I can put the jams on quietly here real fast. Who doesn't like some quiet jams? Beautiful. I'll freeze this. I will be with you guys here physically in a second, but I'm going to check the kids out here. All right, let us change.